an update on the Nostalrius situation. The gameplay footage you're seeing here from World of Warcraft is my very first kill of Illidan Stormrage on the official servers a short while after Sunwell was released. We got to him before Sunwell was released and spent a month wiping on him. Various things happened in the guild and outside of the guild. Either way, it's a fond memory I have, and I was not the guy recording, I was the guy tanking Illidan, the paladin. I played the paladin tank, and I have very fond memories of that time. And the reason I chose this footage is to highlight something that's seriously missing in World of Warcraft right now. There's no magic anymore. There's no sense of a real accomplishment to, say, entering the final boss fight of a raid. You know, what was amazing, the greatest moment of Black Temple for me wasn't killing Illidan. We knew we were gonna kill Illidan after we had gotten to him. He's actually not the hardest boss in Black Temple, but getting to him, entering his chamber after defeating the Eldari Council, which is actually a pretty tough boss fight, or was a pretty tough boss fight, that was amazing. Just entering a place. You will never have that kind of feeling in World of Warcraft today. Why? Because you can go through Eldafar, you can go through any number of difficulties and end there. And the worst part about modern day WoW in terms of raiding, you go in there and normal and heroic are virtually the same fucking thing. Sure, higher damage and HP, but virtually the same fucking fights. And you're gonna do heroic to get in mythic, right? That's the problem. That's the biggest issue I have when raiding. The multiple difficulties. It's not LFR. It's not LFR. It's just normal, heroic, mythic, the flex raiding, all that stuff. It's bad. It really takes away a lot of the magic, which is why you have a lot of people that prefer the old school raiding. Except there hasn't been a game since then that has had the same level of raiding, or even an open world. You know, open world right now in WoW is dead. Go in the open world in World of Warcraft, you will barely encounter any players. What shocked me when I was playing on Nostalrius was the sheer number of people just in the low level areas, 1 to 10, 10 to 20. You know, I got the level 21 character, then I stopped. And I stopped because I had other games to play for this particular channel, and I also stopped because in the back of my mind I'm thinking, you know, Blizzard could shut this down at any point, and we all know this on a private server. And yet despite this, what does it say about World of Warcraft right now that you have a private server with 150,000 active players with close to 800 or over 800,000 registered accounts, like close to 1 million people having made accounts on this server? What does it say about modern day WoW when you could potentially have millions of people, yes, millions of people that, you know, may not care about playing on a private server, but would most certainly play on a legacy server if Blizzard made one? What does it say about modern day WoW if that's the situation? Keeping in mind, the last subscriber count for World of Warcraft was 5.5 million people, and Blizzard has stopped giving figures because they know they're gonna drop below 4 million probably. Probably they might have even dropped below 4 million. They've really fucked things up. And yet they still plow on ahead saying, you know, they said at the BlizzCon something along the lines, actually there's a direct quote is like, when they were asked about the legacy server, a vanilla server, Burn Crusade server, the answer they got, the person who asked the question, the answer he got there, live scene with what, thousands of people, was no. You think you do, you really don't. And the arguments like, oh, you know, all the technical improvements to server, you know, all the various improvements to the game. What does it say about your own fucking game, Blizzard, that there's millions of people potentially out there, out of which 150,000 were playing actively on this server? What does it say when there's people willing, and yes, there are technical issues, there's, you know, class balance that's broken, there's a lot of things that are broken, there are inherent bugs to vanilla, there's server issues in vanilla, that what does it say about your own game when your attitude is like, oh, you really don't, and yet people do. They do want a vanilla server. They do want a Burning Crusade server. And hell, probably millions want even a Wrath the Lich King server, because that's when they spread their wings. You know, everyone has their fond memories of a period in WoW. For some, that's vanilla. For some, that's Burning Crusade, like myself. For some, that's Wrath the Lich King. That's the period they enjoy their most. That's the period in WoW that defined them as an... perhaps not even just as an MMO player or WoW player, but as a gamer in general. For me, my period of playing WoW for 2 years, over 2 years, actually more close to 3 years, from late vanilla to Wrath, before Older War came out, that defined me as a gamer, still defines me as a gamer in a significant way. And a lot of people like myself dislike what World of Warcraft is right now. Hell, I was talking with someone recently about how bad current day WoW is, and this person is what, you know, an old school, a hardcore raider would call a Wrath baby. Like basically one of those raiders from Wrath the Lich King, you know, people who only really got into raiding in Wrath the Lich King. What does it say when someone like that, and I'm not trying to be insulting or anything like this, but I'm, you know, just talking about this stuff. When someone like that, when someone who only got into raiding in Wrath the Lich King slams modern day WoW, what does it say? Like, how do you think the millions of people who played in vanilla and in Burning Crusade and then quit after their respective expansions, because there are people who quit after Burning Crusade, millions of people who quit after Burning Crusade, millions who quit after vanilla because they weren't happy with the changes they made. What does it say about that when someone who came after that, when they introduced Wrath the Lich King, slams modern day WoW? If Blizzard made the Wrath the Lich King server, Burning Crusade server, vanilla server, they'd have millions of people willing to pay a subscription, I might add. I would do it myself, for fuck's sake. I would do it myself, because you know what? In the absence of anything better, I'll take vanilla WoW. Or Burning Crusade. I probably lean more towards vanilla because I've already experienced Burning Crusade and I'm not too eager to jump right back in doing the same stuff I have already done. But I would go in vanilla, you know, experience all the raiding content. Hell, I'd love to do stuff like Blackrock Depths, but Blizzard won't give you that option. So your only other option is try find another MMO, accept WoW as is, or play on a private server. Those are your fucking options. And I'm not sure if you've kept score, but there is no other MMO, at least in a PvE sense, that offers anything remotely that WoW does. Sure, there are other MMOs that may do PvP well, but PvE, there's nothing. Really, you know, I hoped WildStar would do it, but WildStar fell flat on its face because although the raiding was great on a gameplay level, it sucked on every other singular level. Story, artistic design, well, gameplay was good, combat was good, but every other level besides combat and raiding, you know, on a gameplay level, sucked. So that's the problem with WildStar. There was no magic like in WoW. The magic is missing. The open world right now in WoW is crap compared to what was before. The raiding is bad. Let's not even talk about the PvP. PvP? Will there even be a PvP scene soon enough in World of Warcraft, considering how things are going in that department? Really? The reason Blizzard won't accept the argument for a legacy server is because they've got a lot of old developers. People like, think of people like, say, Metzen, just to give you a perfect example, right? He handles the story, right? He's not a gameplay developer. But you've got people like that. You've got a lot of the old guard who are highly valued in Blizzard and are surrounded, from what I hear from people that work at Blizzard, surrounded by yes men, essentially. And basically they can do no wrong. And they come up with all these crappy ideas for their games on a story level, on a gameplay level, and then there's the corporate greed of Activision. It says volumes that WoW started going to shit after Activision bought it, and it says volumes about the fact that Blizzard has been lazier and lazier with each expansion. Sure, they might put a lot of effort in Legion, but just to give you an idea about Burning Crusade and Wrath the Lich King, and, you know, vanilla. Did you know, for instance, that vanilla and Burning Crusade had more raid bosses each than any other expansion since then? Mists came close. Mists. Yeah, Mists of fucking Pandaria. Cataclysm, Wrath, Warlords of Draenor, they don't compare. More raid bosses, more raids, far more fucking dungeons. Christ, the number of dungeons, heroic dungeons included, you know, considering heroic dungeons, like, just look at the number of dungeons in Burning Crusade. Amazing. Sure, not all of them were great, but god, there were so many memorable ones. I mean, sure, Shattered Halls was like slamming your balls in a brick wall, but you'd eventually break that brick wall and felt great. Even if you'd have to drag yourself from the floor forward after that. That's how it was. Shattered Halls Heroic, for instance, just to give an example. That was a great dungeon. Superb dungeon. Hellfire Citadel. Hellfire Ramparts, more specifically. Just to give two of my personal favorites. Personal favorites, Shattered Hall. Without a shadow of doubt, that's in my opinion the best one. But then again, I say that as a paladin. Durnhall, pretty good. You know, Thrall's backstory in a sense, part of it in a dungeon. There were some that were less great, like Black Morass, that wasn't really that funny, and it kind of got tiring after a while. But there was a lot of content, a lot of new ideas, a lot of stuff to do. If you leveled up in Burning Crusade at max level, you'd be doing quests and zones, and then daily quests. They added that, you know, just without considering the daily quests, but dungeon, regular quests, raids, you know, just the first tier of raiding for months, let alone the epic quest line for the epic mount, right, for the Nether Drake, if you wanted to go into that. And that was how much content it gave you, without considering the months and months and months that it required to actually finish the raiding content. That's a whole separate ball game. WoW right now, you can finish it in less than a month. So, you know, there's people who want that old stuff, you know, who want that old style of World of Warcraft, who don't like what World of Warcraft has become. And Blizzard won't give it to people. They haven't responded to the Nostalrius shutdown. They haven't made any statement as far as I'm aware. The petition has over 110,000 signatures. They probably won't respond. And people will give the argument, oh, they have to defend their copyright, their trademarks. Yeah, they do. But that's a weak argument for them shutting the server down. I wonder if this will be enough for some people, at least in Blizzard, to realize that they're going to hell. That maybe, just maybe, everything you've done since Cataclysm has come out has sucked. That there's a lot of people that feel that way and would like to see something similar to old school WoW. You know, beyond the legacy server, I would love Blizzard to get a simple message. We want your old style of games. Actually, we want you as a company back. We want the people. You look at their retrospective and they talk with such passion, the passion they had for making games in the past, the passion on which they built their entire company, they built their games. Where is that? Where the fuck has that company gone? In the swamp of Activision's pocket? Essentially? That's where Blizzard is right now. We would like that game developer back, Activision, and we would like the old school games back, because what Blizzard has been offering recently, with maybe one or two exceptions, is pretty fucking bad. And a YouTuber by the name of Athene, I might link his video in the description. A YouTuber by the name of Athene made an interesting point in his video on the subject matter, that there is a huge issue of communication between Blizzard and its community. That the community says one thing, Blizzard says another, or people want another thing, like, because on studies or anything like that. When you've got a lot of people saying something, and you have proof, you know, this is important because there is proof right now with Nostalrius. That's why this is important. That's why this matters. That's why this proves a point to Blizzard, that there are people that do care about that old style of gameplay in MMOs. There are people, a lot of people, that would play Vanilla WoW for all the problems Vanilla WoW has, that would probably play Burning Crusade or Wrath the Lich King even. Throw that in there, right? Maybe not Cataclysm or Mists of Pandaria, but yeah, there would be people who would play the first 3 iterations of WoW for their own reasons. You know, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's reliving the memories that shaped them as people. That's just how it is. World of Warcraft shaped an entire generation. Actually, Blizzard themselves with their own games shaped an entire generation of gamers. And then they've gone to shit, and they've been throwing shit more and more. It says something that probably their best game that they've done in a long time is Hearthstone. Consider that for a damn second. Not their big AAA titles where they spend a lot of money and a lot of manpower, but a card game. I'm just saying. You really gotta think this through, right? Well, I guess we'll see what happens. I guess we will see what Blizzard does decide to do in the end. I don't expect miracles. I don't expect them to essentially get their heads out of their asses, but it would be nice if you saw the light once in a while, Blizzard, instead of just your checkbooks.